welcome everyone to Conversations Over Coffee. I'm Steve Wernick, Rabbi Steve Wernick, one of the rabbis of Beth Tzedec, and really since the pandemic started, or shortly after the pandemic started, we've been really having a lot of fun doing these 30-minute conversations over coffee with interesting people in the community and the world, and dealing with current events in our lives and just talking. My guest today is my boss and my friend, Debbie Rothstein.
I don't like it when
I know you don't like it when I say my boss. I'm just teasing. Is my friend and my partner and my colleague, the president of Beth Tzedec congregation, Debbie Rothstein. What's the name of the restaurant chain that you work for?
It's Wilder and Rose Restaurants, but it's Fat Pasha, Fetzoon, Big Crow, Schmaltz, Madame Buff.
There you go. Okay, so she's also a CFO for a company that owns several restaurants in the GTA, and a leader in our community in many, many ways. Today's topic really is it's COVID and how it's impacted our community personally, as well as religiously. And so Debbie, I know, as you say, you're not afraid to talk, which is great because this is a talk show.
And I've always wanted to be on a talk show.
So you always wanted to be on a talk show. I mean, it's not as good as late night TV, but but we're growing our audience. One of the things that I know, and perhaps a lot of people don't know, but I know that you've been very open to share some of the personal vulnerabilities of how COVID has impacted you. Why don't we start with that? Tell us a little bit about what this experience has been for you personally.
So, I actually now sitting here 3.5 months past, or not quite 3.5 months past where I was in March. The fact that I can have this conversation without completely breaking down is an achievement for me. So just a little background about the restaurant industry. It's seasonal is not the right word to say, but you don't make your money in January and February. So we were just building up to our big months. Summer, obviously, in Toronto is our biggest months. COVID at the beginning of March, it was looking like it was already having an impact on the restaurants. And Anthony Rose, Rob Wilder, those are the two owners, Jen Bublite and myself, so that we were the upper management team. We were really meeting pretty much 24/7 to try and figure out how to work our way through what was obviously coming. And at that point, we know that the government was going to shut down our restaurants. So we were trying to scale back and thinking of all these things. And on this Saturday night, March 14th, Anthony walked into both Fat Pasha and Fetzoon, and both restaurants were packed. And he sent us all an email around 7 a.m. Sunday morning and said, "Can't do it. I don't feel, and our number one value is the health and safety of our staff." And we all didn't feel that we could guarantee the safety of our staff. I mean, now we know so much more about COVID. We did not know back then. So we went from trying to pivot to me laying off 75 people, including myself. And first time in life I'd been laid off, still continue to work because we had to figure out how to come out on the other side. And I'm someone who's dealt with anxiety pretty much my entire life since I was a kid. And I spiraled that first week. I mean, I remember you called me to see how I was, and I basically hung up on you because I could speak to my siblings. I couldn't speak to my parents. I could speak to Michael. That was it. And even Michael, I was just like, it was all of this stuff coming out. And I was, I spiral. So I'm like, we're going to lose the house. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I kept saying, and my kids were at school. And I kept saying to Michael, bring the kids home, bring the kids home. And thankfully, he's a much wiser person than I am. And he said, I think it's better that the kids are where they are, because it wouldn't have helped him to see me like that. And I came to Kiddush Club. Sheldon Rotman started Kiddush Club that Friday. And I came to Kiddush Club, and Danielle asked me to speak, and I so wasn't prepared. And I said that, that was the first time in 6 days that I brushed my hair. And it was the truth, because I literally wanted to just take the covers and pull them over my head. But you have to keep going. And we were determined, a restaurant chain, to come out on the other side. And thankfully, we're starting to. So that's, in a nutshell, where I was. And then there's the shul on top of everything else.
Yeah. But I mean, look, it starts with the personal. And it's like, if you don't, we all read the numbers, we all read the paper, we see the unemployment numbers and the way that the government's been investing in stopgap measures for people. If you're not living through it, you don't understand what it means.
Right.
So what is happening now? I mean, are you back at work formally?
So I am back at work formally. We have a very small staff. So I'll back up a bit. We opened one location, which is actually two places, Fashion Schmaltz at the back. We opened those mid-May for takeout and curbside pickup. Then we opened Madame Bouffe, which is at the back of Fetsoon. Then the government allowed patio seating. So we are lucky enough to have patios. Not all restaurants have patios, so they're still not seeing on-site seatings. And then we opened a third location just on Friday. So slowly, but look, I read a figure at the height, 800,000 restaurant employees. It's according to Restaurant Canada, were laid off to work. I'm not sure where we're at right now, but there's just no way. Restaurants that are in the towers downtown, they can't have seating. They can't. There's no patio. So I can't even imagine. I mean, there are lifetime servers who I don't know when they're going to have jobs back. And it's very, very scary. And I don't know. I mean, we talk about this is what we talk about in our management meetings all the time. What is the future of the restaurant? What does it look like? Are we ever going to feel comfortable to eat in a restaurant? And if we are, is that a year? Is that 2 years? Like, it's just, and as you said, the government subsidies aren't going to last forever.
Are people coming back? Are you seing people coming?
Yeah. I mean, we're very careful. We're very, it's very limited seating. And we're doing it that you have to pre-book your seat so that we can maintain protocols that are necessary for patio seatings. So we are seeing people come back. My brother-in-law was just telling me on the weekend that he was in Yorkville and he saw people lined up around the block for a patio. We're right now, we're kind of doing it carefully.
Thank you for sharing. As you said, on top of that, your other full-time job is the president of Beth Tzedec.
Yeah.
Tell us what what that's meant to you at this time.
So I think I wrote in. First of all, I didn't expect to be writing as much as I'm writing. The presidents, you basically hear from them on the high holidays or in the bulletin. And you and Linda suggested that, you know what, 1 week it should be you and 1 week it should be me. And so I'm writing a lot. And frankly, I don't know how to be anyone except myself. So my eblasts have been pretty personal, and I'm an oversharer at the best of times. So it's actually been very cathartic for me to be able to put things out there so that people understand where I'm coming from. And I think in one of those eblasts, I wrote that my dad, having been a past president, is someone who I go to for guidance a lot, really since I joined the board. And there's just no guidance on this one. We were all kind of those first 2 weeks, and the first week I checked out, literally checked out, and Bernie Groper, the chair, took over for me while I got my wits together. Those first 2 weeks, we were really flying by the seat of our pants. What was this going to look like? How long was it going to last?
We were making it up as we were going.
Exactly. And I think the second week after we were closed, the executive met, maybe the first week. I mean, all concept of time.
Who remembers? Right. There's only yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
If there wasn't Shabbat and it's because I'm baking challah, I would not know what day of the week it was. So the executive met, and I said to the executive, I think we should be meeting weekly. And no one said it's too much. It's and literally last week we took the week off because some people were on vacation. We have met every single week, and not one person has missed a meeting. I'm beyond humbled by that, and just everybody has so stepped up to the plate. The board realizes that maybe we're not getting stuff out in as timely a fashion. There's just so many moving parts, and then adding the whole digital transformation on top of all of that. I mean, it's just, I can't believe where we are 3 months later.
So what have been the emerging priorities for the synagogue at this time?
So obviously, how do you create community when we're all on a computer screen or a TV screen or tablet, phone, whatever, but we're not together? And I think in your first e-blast, you wrote when we're physically distanced, how do we practice spiritual nearness? And that kind of has been my mantra all along. And when Michael, my husband, finished saying Kaddish, so we'd been going all year long, and he finished Kaddish on Zoom. And as sad as I was that it was not with our community together and having Nash's breakfast afterwards, there was a real beauty in seeing all the faces on Zoom and Michael speaking about his dad. So it's just opportunities like that. Obviously, the digital transformation was key. As we've talked about, live stream on Shabbat and the Chagim were just not on our radar. It wasn't a priority of the congregation, and COVID made it a priority. And people had to move out of their comfort zones to do it on behalf of the community. So kol hakavod to the entire spiritual leadership team, really and truly. And membership, because we don't know how this is going to affect people. We don't know how it has affected people, I should say. So what is the membership renewal rate going to look like? What is the amount of people who will require subsidies, because this is not the year that they can pay full shul membership. I mean, we've made a commitment that no one is being turned away this year. So those are I think the three most important priorities for us, and certainly what we spend the majority of our meetings talking about, in addition to all the stuff that always comes around at the shul.
In addition to the regular firefighting.
Exactly.
There's also a forest fire that we have to deal with.
Exactly.
But what's been the response of the congregation to the messages that you've heard?
I'm blown away. You know, a friend of my sister's, who's a member of the shul, sent me an email, and after my first e-blast, or maybe my second, and she said, "I can't believe I'm writing a letter to the president of the congregation." She's like, "I would never do this," but she wanted to give me some feedback, and it has been so overwhelmingly positive. Words can't even express how touched I am that people take the time to tell me that, you know, that they're so appreciative of what we're all doing, and that's probably been, for me, the nicest part of COVID.
It's also, I think, you know, we sometimes in these positions of leadership, we don't necessarily know how many people are actually reading.
Yes.
The materials we send out. Yes, I mean, we've got metrics now in terms of, like, you know, how many opens and click-throughs and so forth, but that's, you know, how many views on a Facebook program isn't necessarily how many people took the time to really see what's there. What's nice, what I find nice, is people are really paying attention. And you know, perhaps it's a cliche, but in a moment of crisis, it seems like communities, healthy communities, stand up and rally together to deal with it. And it certainly seems like what we're experiencing here at Beth Tzedec, for the most part, is that kind of interconnectedness and care and rallying, that we're going to get through this together.
I mean, I think one of the most, I actually wrote about it in my last e-blast, one of the most incredible initiatives is Rabbi Friar Bodson and Debbie Berlin's Loss in the Time of COVID is the bereavement group that they've started. Just because I can't imagine not being able to have sat Shiva and have your family rally around you, or even at the funeral. I think it's and I don't think that either Rabbi Friar Bodson or Debbie anticipated the response and how often they were going to be meeting and how many people would really need this. So I think that's a perfect example of how we have risen to what is needed by our community.
So for people, if they have suffered a loss during this time, we invite you to go to our website and to contact Rabbi Friar Bodson. The bereavement group is off for the next couple of weeks, but it'll be reconstituted in August, and we plan for it to continue through December. I just was told from Linda Marlene Dow on our communication staff that the link for the bereavement group is in the comment section of Facebook and of YouTube. So if you want to find out more information about that, Debbie's an MSW, Debbie Berlin is an MSW and does a lot of grief counseling, and she's one of the founders of Neshama, which is going to be the first Jewish hospice in the GTA that will be opening within the next year. It's really, loss is tough enough, but to deal with loss during COVID, where some families haven't been able to be present when their loved ones have passed on, or funerals have been cut short and modified. It's really one of the best things I think we've been doing through the Center for Spiritual Well-Being to provide that. I think also the Kiddush Club, which you mentioned, that Sheldon and Patty Rotman started. I don't know if they started the Kiddush Club. I know that they're regular attendees of the Kiddush Club, but it was certainly their idea to move it to Fridays at 5:30. And it's been so fascinating to watch this, how every week 3 people are asked to reflect on their experience during this time of COVID and to offer gratitude. And it's just been really profound and powerful.
Very.
And the preparation that people are taking in terms of the thoughtfulness by which they do their sharing. I didn't expect that to be one of the most profound things that we're doing, but it's turned out to be that for sure.
I mean, there's been so much bearing of souls, and so many tears and so much laughter. It is such a beautiful part of my week, really and truly. I mean, I thank Sheldon all the time. It really is such a beautiful way to end the week.
You are in many ways, Debbie, the epitome of the saying that if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. So not only have you been dealing with your own personal anxiety of the crisis of COVID, and I didn't realize until you said it that you actually laid yourself off.
Yeah, I did.
That's like, I don't know if that's like, I have to think about that, because that's just like, that's just an incredibly difficult and yet also brave thing to do. But so you had to deal with your own issues of the anxiety of being unemployed for a while during this, being a congregational president, but then I kind of did this to you. I asked you to, that we're not alone in this, right? Beth Tzedec is not alone in this. Let's talk a little bit about the convening of the congregational presidents of the conservative community in the GTA. What's that been like?
Okay, so I think we had the initial conversation at our United Bakers Tuesday morning meetings, which are now over Zoom, and we don't get a bagel, we just get a cup of coffee. I think I was saying how, who do I talk to about this? Who knows how to deal? Like, there's no one around from the Spanish flu that was a president of a congregation. Like, who else do I talk to? And you said to me, convene the group of conservative shul presidents. And I was like, okay. And I knew Abe Glowinski from Beth Shalom, and I knew Andy Pask from Beth Shalom, and I from Beth David, and Malcolm Weinstein, Beth Emmett. Those are the 3 that I knew personally. So I sent them an email, and I said, what do you think about this? And they all emailed me back immediately. Let's do it. Here are the presidents, blah, blah, blah. I sent out an email the next day, every single one on board right away. And then the president of First Neriver asked to be a bit, and then the president of the Kiever Shul also asked to be a part of it. So we're all the conservative shuls, plus a couple of modern Orthodox schools have joined us as well. And basically, that first meeting, I think, was 2.5 hours, and it was just verbal diarrhea. Literally, everybody was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it went on and on and on and on. We finally cut the meeting short. And since then, we've been meeting, try to meet every week for an hour. Now I've made the meetings. It's good to be the king. I set the time, and we've set it for an hour, and we talk about really what everybody's worrying about, which is what are the high holy days going to look like this year? What is membership going to look like this year? And what is reopening the building? Because as we all know, the Ontario government sent us on a
wild goose chase.
Well, yeah, which we were absolutely not expecting. And we had to pivot once again. I mean, pivot is my word. Fluid and pivot. Those are my 2 words of COVID. So then it's actually been very helpful to know there is no one who is better off. There is no one who is worse off. We're all in this boat together. And it has been very collaborative. And I'm really, really pleased. You know, I'd heard in the past, you know, shuls not getting along and think, first of all, I don't have time for that in my life. It's just not who I am. It's been really, really terrific. And it's been so, so helpful for me to know that, okay, we're not the only ones who are dealing with this.
Let's talk a little bit about reopening, right? So the provincial government came out with this 30% of capacity,
which is 750 people in our sanctuary.
Yeah, right. So this is clearly not what they meant when they said that.
No.
And I know that some synagogues have tried to do a soft opening with minyanim, but they're now walking that back. You know, share with us what the Beth Tzedec task force is, what's on their radar in terms of reopening.
So Lori Lubin, who's the chair of the committee, has made clear from the very beginning that he wants to have all the necessary protocols in place, but that it's not for the task force to decide when we open. He would make a recommendation. The task he would make on behalf of the task force a recommendation, and it would be the board's decision. So right now they're looking at all the protocols. We have an infectious disease physician. We have a physician who's working with public health. We have a respirologist, in addition to engineers, lawyers on the committee who are looking at every single aspect. Do we have doors open? How does that affect security, right? There's so many different things that we have to consider. And the feedback that I've gotten from the presidents that have opened, first of all, nobody's banging down the door to come to their shuls. One of the shuls, as you said, dialed back daily minyan because they weren't being guaranteed a minyan during the week. So right now, they're only Shabbat services, and another shul is Shabbat, but it's, you know, pre-registered. They've capped it at 20 or 25 people, including the Klei Kodesh. So, you know what? I'm so beyond torn on this one because I know how badly people want to come back to shul. I mean, I've literally seen you in person twice since all of this started. And that was because you were in front yard and then I came to your backyard. Those are the only time we have been in the same place. And so I get it, but you know, we've said from the very beginning that what is the most important thing to consider is the health and safety of our members and the health and safety of our staff. Until I'm 100% sure, because with services, as we're now learning more about singing, and so much of our davening has to do with singing, what is that going to look like? And if we have people in the building, how is that going to affect our services on Shabbat, which we're still, the majority of people are going to be watching online for the near future. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm not sure we'll ever know what the real answer is. I mean, at some point, we're just going to have to make a decision and go with it.
Other than a vaccine, what's your prayer and hope for the new year?
It's a tough one. I hope that this feeling, okay, let me start again. The majority of our congregation is, well, not a good portion of our congregation come to shul on my holy days, or when they yisker, or when they have your nights. We have more people coming to live stream services. We have more people coming to Daily Union than we normally do. So people are obviously searching out community when we all can't be together. So my hope is that when we all are able to be together, that feeling of community doesn't go away, and that we continue to be amazed and touched and by the little things, like people bearing their soul at Kiddush Club, and that we aren't, I'm a busy person, but I hope I'm able to slow down my life a little more, and I hope that for everyone else as well. Like all the things that we thought were so important, maybe they aren't so important to our well-being.
Thank you, Debbie, for sharing so much of yourself and of your experience as president of the congregation with us. I know from working with you on these issues for the last several months, but even, we've known each other for a couple of years already now, even before I got to Beth Tzedec as senior rabbi. I'm just glad that you're the right president at this time.
Thank you.
And I'm really, people in the rabbinic world, you talk to your colleagues about how things are going, and I feel really blessed that our lay leadership and our senior and our staff, we all seem to be on the same page, rowing at the same time in the same direction, and it really it makes it so much easier because we're focused on the core values and issues, and not getting on and not having to deal with the steps to first identify what those core values and issues are. Right? There's no negotiation about what's important, and that allows us to spend all of our time dealing with what's important, and that is in large measure due to your leadership as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
This concludes today's conversation over coffee. Join us next week at 12:30. It's not confirmed yet, but I'm hoping to confirm Professor Bruce Ellman, who's a former dean of Windsor Law School, Windsor University Law School, and the Honorable Justice Catherine Feldman to be on to talk about the ways in which COVID is impacting our legal system. And government, right, and law, and constitutional issues, and so forth. So that hopes to be I hope that'll be next week's program. And in the weeks ahead, we'll have a variety of other people, including Dr. Noah Stahl, who's a gerontologist. We'll talk about the impact and the shame, really, of Canada as it relates to the impact of COVID on our senior community, as well as a lineup of other potential guests in the weeks ahead. To find out everything that's happening at Beth Tzedec, not only conversations over coffee, but really all the opportunities for community and for being spiritually near at a time of physical distance and COVID, visit us on our website, www.beth-tzedec.org. Beth Tzedec All Access. We are indeed here for each other all the time. And please reach out to the members of the spiritual leadership team if there's anything you need of a pastoral nature or assistance at this time. We're here for you, as we know that you are here for us. Thank you again, Debbie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a good day. Bye-bye.